Best friend travel.
Down first are standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. That's one we don't really see as lot. It's not my favorite one, but it's still standard form of a line. You're going to see that on the test. They're going to ask you, what is this in the standard form? Okay? And then the slope intercept form, y equals mx plus b. That one, we all know, we all love. We invited to our house on Thanksgiving to say hi. Okay. So using this graph, we're going to figure out what is our equation of this line in slope-intercept form. First thing I'm going to always do is, if I want it in slope-intercept form, I'm probably going to write down slope-intercept form. Okay? And probably no matter what I do, I'm going to write it in slope-intercept form, and then it's very easy to transform it back to standard. All right? And before we do that, I want you to circle your A here. Okay?
You said circle, square, right?
Circle, square, whatever. Draw a line. We're going to write a quick little note about it. It's never negative or a fraction.
So I got mud all over the tattoo. I apologize. I didn't want you to find it later and be like burning. You know what I mean?
You can go ahead and call him best friend.
So, whenever I have the standard form, the first number that I have that's in front of the x, or the x itself, it can never be negative and it can never be a fraction. If it is, I've got to change it. I've either got to multiply everything by -1 or multiply everything by the denominator of the fraction. We'll see an example of that a little bit later. First, in slope-intercept form, so the first thing I'm going to look for here, because I've got a graph, I'm going to look for m. So y equals my slope, right up here at the top, slope is rise over run. Okay? Rise over run. So my rise is 2. My run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Another way would look at it would be your change in y over your change in x. And this slope is negative. Okay? It's negative because it's going this way. So as it goes positive to x, it's going down 2 and then over 5. Okay? If it were a positive slope like over here, it'd be going up and over. Here it's going down and over. Okay? And then my b over here, let's circle our b over here. And this time, this we're going to write, okay, over here under slope-intercept form, right, this is our y-intercept. Okay? So we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So my equation of this line in slope-intercept form is y equals -2x plus 7. And it's that simple. -2 over 5. -2 over 5. My slope, I'm okay with that being a fraction. That doesn't bother me at all. Now the next one we're going to look at, they want us to find it in standard form. One thing that I typically always do, I always put it in slope-intercept form first, and then add and subtract to put it into standard, just because I always know that it's easier for me to find slope-intercept. Okay? So, first I'm going to look for, my y-intercept is 1, 2, 3, 4. And my slope is up 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Okay? So that's That's in slope-intercept form. Now I'm going to put it into standard form. To get it standard form, I'm going to subtract my 3x from both sides. So I get negative 3x plus y equals negative 4. Am I done yet?
No.
No, because it needs to be positive. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 1. So that I'll get 3x minus y equals 4. Okay? So not difficult.
How did you just
That's
subtract
the answer?
3x from y?
I subtracted it because it wouldn't subtract from each other. They go next to each other.
Oh, so you did 3x plus
I did negative 3x plus y is what it ends up because it goes on the other side. And then I just multiply everything by negative 1 to get rid of my negative. Okay? Let's take a look over here.
You're contagious.
M is negative 1/2 and the y-intercept is 6. Okay? Write it in standard form. Okay? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do y equals negative 1/2 x plus 6. That's in my slope-intercept form. And to put it in standard form, okay, add 1/2 x to both sides. Okay? So that I get 1/2 x plus y equals 6. Am I done yet?
Can you move up the paper, please?
No, because it's in fractions.
Right. Because it's a fraction. So I've got to change that. Multiply both sides by 2. Okay, distribute my 2 through. 2 times 1/2 is 1, so I just have x plus 2y equals 12. Okay? Another reason why we really like slope-intercept form rather than standard form is that if you have a graphing calculator, your graphing calculator is designed to have everything put in as y equals, which is your slope-intercept form. Now we get a little bit more tricky, and they say, hey, I've got my slope and I've got a point that goes through the line. Tell me what the equation of the line is in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to write out what I know. I know I have a y. I know I have a third x because I have my slope, but I don't know what my y-intercept is. Oh me, oh my, what am I to do? Okay? Very simply, I'm going to plug in 4 and 2. Okay? So this is my x, this is my y. So 2 equals 1/3, 4, plus b, because I'm solving for b. Now I can solve for b. Okay? I get 2 equals 4/3 plus b. Okay? I'm going to convert 2 into a fraction with respect to 3. Okay? Best way to do that, 2 times 3 is 6. So I have 6 over 3 equals 4 over 3 plus b. Okay? Subtract 4/3 from both sides.
Wait, that's 4 over 3 next to 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I multiplied by 4. And I get b equals 2/3. Okay? Which means my equation of the line is y equals 1/3 x plus 2/3. Okay? Pretty straightforward. So what I do anytime that they give me a point, and they don't give me like the y-intercept, they don't tell me what it is, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up plugging in points into my line, into my equation, and that'll help me solve for what I don't know. Okay? All right. Next one, let's talk about an undefined slope. Now, a slope is undefined if I have this. This is undefined. If I have a slope with 0 in the denominator, that's not possible. Why? Because I can't do that. Okay? I can't do that. I can't have zero. I can't divide something by 0. You put that into any calculator, and unless it's made by a second grader, that calculator will tell you, error. Okay? So, when I have a line that's undefined, is it a vertical or horizontal line? Vertical. Very good. So, for example, if I were to graph it, I would go over 2 and up 1, 2, 3, 4. My line that's undefined would be like this. Remember when we learned in Algebra 1 about testing something to see if it's a function? And one of the things we talked about, if it's truly a function, if I have something that is an actual called a function, then my equation will state that for every value of x, there's only one answer. Okay, in other words, the line only crosses each value of x once. Okay? So in this case, what point is the line always going through for x? 2. And that's my answer. So if I have an undefined slope, that means it's a straight line up and down. Okay? And if it's a straight line up and down, then that means that x equals all values of 2, what this is saying. Okay? All values of 2. Alright? So now, let's talk about number 6. It says the slope is 1/2, and the x-intercept, yes? The x-intercept is negative 16. Okay? X-intercept is negative 16. So when I have an x-intercept, that means it's crossing what? The x-axis, which means y is equal to what? 0. So my point here is negative 16, comma 0. Okay? So, if I'm going to write this in slope-intercept form, I'm going to have y equals, I know what m is, 1/2 x plus b. Okay? So then I know that if, with this equation, I have my x and y coordinates. I'm going to plug in 0 for y equals 1/2 times negative 16 plus b.
So I need pain medicine. I've had 3 operations in shoulder and I didn't take pills this morning. I thought you were going to give me a Band-Aid.
Okay, so this equals 0. So what I did is I plugged in my point, negative 16 and 0. 1/2 of negative 16 is negative 8. Now I'm going to add 8 to both sides. B equals 8. So my equation of the line is y equals,
Is that a 0?
where?
Down? Yes.
That's a 0 right there.
Apparently.
0 plus 8. So y equals 1/2 x plus 8. Okay? Let's turn to the back side. Cool. So now we're going to pull back an old formula that we learned before in Algebra 1, that the slope is equal to y1 over minus y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? So if I want to write in slope-intercept form, I'm going to need some equations here. I'm going to need this equation to tell me what the slope is. I'm going to need some pieces to the puzzle. So first thing I'm going to do, solve for slope. I'm going to have 4 minus 1 over 3 minus negative 2. Okay? Which gives me 4 minus 1 is 3. 3 minus negative 2 is 5. Okay? So that's my slope. So then I have y equals 3/5 x plus b. Well, I have 2 points up here, so I'm gonna plug them in. So I'm gonna take 4 equals 3/5 times 3 plus b. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take my 4 and I'm gonna make it into a common fraction. Okay? So that's gonna be 20 over 5 equals 9 over 5,
How'd you get 20 over 5?
because 5 times 4 is 20.
Because you cross multiply.
Because you convert it to a common fraction. A fraction with a common denominator.
20 over 3. Is that wrong or right? 20 over
20 over what?
3.
20 over 5.
How do you do that?
Because I have 4 here. Okay? I convert 4 to be
Wouldn't it be 4 over 1?
4 over 1, but I need common denominators. I need a fraction, so this is my fraction. I've got 4. I need to get this to be a fraction to be a common denominator with 5. Over 1 times something over something will get me over 5. Okay, so I'm going to get 5 over 5, and I'm going to get 20 over 5. Okay, to get my common fraction. I'm going to subtract 9/5 from both sides, and I get b equals,
They told me to come back in 15 minutes because some kids got in a fight in the office.
Where do you get 9 5?
multiply 3/5 times 3 when I plugged in my point, because I plugged in this point right here. When I plug in this point right here, in for x and for y, I get 9/5 because I get 3/5, the slope, times the point x. Therefore, I'm going to get 11 over 5. So my equation of my line is y equals 3/5 x plus 11 over 5.
I guess I'm lost, but I have a question on kind of like how you were doing with her, the 20 over 5. How'd you get 5 over 5? 5 over 5 is 1.
Right, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find a common denominator. Because I have 3/5 over here, and the denominator of 5 is not going away. I have to have a common denominator over here, because I'm going to end up subtracting them.
But if it's 4 over 1, then you can't do 5 because 5, that wouldn't be possible.
Yes, it is, because I convert it to a common. Basically, if I were to divide 20 by 5, what would my answer be?
It would be 4, but
It would be 4.
I thought that if you did like 4 over 1 or 2 over 1 or like some number over 1, that you had to use that number.
Right, you have to make sure that your numbers that you're adding and subtracting that are fractions have common denominators.
I understand.
So to do that, I convert it to have a common denominator with 5, which 4 is 4 over 1, right? So my whole number of 4 is 4 over 1, and I'm going to multiply both top and bottom by 5 to get a common denominator.
I get how you do that.
Okay, and so that's why I did it. Okay? So I subtract my 9/5 over, and I get 11/5. Okay? All right. So, I have an equation of a line it wants me to find for these 2 points. It passes through these 2 points in standard form. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this formula right here. So I'm going to take 5 minus 5 over 7 minus negative 3. That gives me 0 over 10. So what does that become?
0.
0. So my slope is 0. So if my slope is 0, that means am I going to have an x in this equation? I'm going to have y equals what?
0.
5.
5.
Because what this is going to end up being,
Can you move it over?
what this is going to end up being is that it goes on the y-axis. So if I were to graph this at -3, 1, 2, 3, and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I would have here this, and then over here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and up here my line goes straight across to connect those two. I got straight across, okay, and that's going to be y equals 5 because the value that we're finding, y is always going to be 5, the y value, okay? Okay, 4 more problems left. We're going to learn 2 important principles here. Okay? We're going to learn 2 important principles. I'm going to teach you a shortcut. Okay? All right, first of all, they're giving us the equation of a line, and they want us to find an equation that's parallel to it. So when 2 lines are parallel, they have what? The same what? Slope. So parallel means same slope. Okay? And passing through this line. Okay? So what I'm going to do, we want it in standard form, but I want it to have the same equation of a line. Okay?
I don't have a pass because I came from the 9th grade. Just talking in the slow.
All right. So I'm going to find a parallel. So here's the thing. If I have a parallel line to this, these 2 numbers right here, or these 2, x and y, are not going to change. Okay? So my standard form of a line is ax plus by equals c. Okay? These 2 parts right here, I'm going to have 3x plus 4y equals c. I'm going to have some c, but I don't know what it is. Okay? Okay? And the shortcut I'm going to teach you from standard form to find the slope, you're going to want to write this down. The slope equals the opposite of a over b. Okay? That is a shortcut. Okay? Now you could take this to find the slope, and you could plug it into, or you could change it into a slope-intercept form, and then find your slope, and then plug in points and go from there. There's no point to that. When I can give you this little cheat right here that says the slope from standard form is going to be equal to the opposite of a over b. Okay? So I know that these 2 numbers right here, because it's parallel, are going to have to be the same. Right? They're going to have to be the same. So now I'm going to try to find c. So they've given me a point, so I'm going to do 3 times 5 plus 4 times -3 equals c, which gives me 15 minus 12 equals c. Okay? Which then gives me c equals 3. Okay? So my equation is 3x plus 4y plus equals 3.
What, you didn't really even need the slope.
Didn't need the slope, but I was still teaching you something. Because what you could do is you could turn it around and you could make it in the slope-intercept form, and you could have had a lot of fractions, and you could have gotten pretty much the same thing. The difference is I've taught you an easier way to do it. Okay? Equals 3. All right? Now for the next one, this is where our slope thing is going to come in handy. This is where our slope is going to come in handy. Because when I'm finding a line that's perpendicular, to 3x plus 4y equals 8, a perpendicular slope is a negative reciprocal. Okay? Okay? So my slope here, m is negative 3 over 4. Okay? Because I just taught you the little cheat that says opposite of a over b. Okay? So if that's the slope, the perpendicular slope is going to be, the new slope is going to be 4/3. Does that make sense? Because it's a negative reciprocal. So I take it and I flip it and I make it negative. Or if it's negative, I make it positive. Okay? And that's because when we're perpendicular, remember perpendicular is like this. Okay? I have a 90-degree angle. Okay? So now I'm going to write an equation of a line that's perpendicular. This is my slope, and I want a slope-intercept, which is great. Okay? I want it to be perpendicular to that. So this is what I want. I need to solve for b. So I'm going to take my point, negative 11 equals 4/3 times 3 plus b. This is awesome, because now my 3's cancel out, and I don't have a fraction.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of cheers over that.
I said you.
Hey, Frank.
Okay. All right. Subtract away my 4. B equals negative 15. Okay. So my slope-intercept form is y equals 4/3 x minus 15. Okay. So keep in mind, the thing that I have just taught you here, parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal. Does that make sense? Want to make sure we all get that. Okay? So now, for the final two problems, we're going to look at, they give us a chart of points. And in these points, we're going to take these points, and we're going to make we're going to make two different equations, obviously. For the first one, it's going to be in standard form. For the second one, it's going to be in slope-intercept form. Okay? So, first thing, what do I notice about this set of points right here? What is this? 0 and negative 2. So it's saying when x is 0, y is negative 2. What very important point is that for us, class?
That is the y-axis.
That's the y-intercept. That's the y-intercept, also known as b. Okay? That's my y-intercept. So I'm going to write an equation, and I typically always tend to end up using the standard form of a line, or the point-intercept form, because that's just easier for me. Okay? So it's going to be y equals, okay, m, I don't know what m is, x minus 2. Okay? So I'm going to take my second point and plug it in. So y equals 0, m times 6 minus 2. Add 2 to both sides. Okay? Divide both sides by 6. M equals 1/3. So now I have y equals 1/3 x minus 2. Am I done yet?
No.
No, because you gotta put this.
Okay? Because I got to get it in standard form. So the thing I'm going to do, I'm going to subtract 1/3 x from both sides. Okay? So I get negative 1/3 x plus y equals negative 2. Am I done yet? No, because I can't have what?
Negative word fraction.
I can't have negative fraction, and I got both. And that's big doo-doo for us. So I multiply both sides by -3. Okay? Distribute my -3 through, and I get x minus 3y equals 6. Okay?
Wait, but I didn't I don't know.
What did you just multiply by?
I multiplied everything by -3 because I had to get rid of my 1/3 and my negative number. Because this number right here, this number in standard form, remember I told you over here, this can never be negative or a fraction. Never. Okay? I know standard form is a little bit different. It's not my favorite.
Wait, but so it gets messed up if you don't simplify slope because I forgot to simplify. I had 2/6 and I didn't simplify to 1/3, so then I ended up getting 2x minus 6y equals 12. So it's not the same as x minus 3y plus or equals.
Okay, so in the case, what she just asked was, she didn't simplify her slope. Okay? So then she got her answer then she got basically double that, 2x minus 6y equals 12. That is the same answer.
Oh, it is?
That is the same answer. Where you would technically be incorrect is we would say, is a math teacher would look at that and say, you're right, and if you put it around and stick it into a calculator, you're going to be fine. But what we're going to end up telling you is this can be simplified. This can be reduced more. So you could have divided everything by 2 and then gotten the answer that I just got. Does that make sense? So it's always helpful to simplify, and also because if you're graphing, would you rather have to go up 1 and over 3 or up 2 and over 6? So your slope always needs to be reduced.
So when we put it on the other side, we have to make a negative. And then, once we make a negative, we cancel the denominator out.
Right, so I can't have a fraction for a. So for this value that's in front of the x, I can have a number in front of it, like 2, but I can't have a fraction and I can't have a negative number. So if I've got to multiply everything by -1 to get rid of the negative, and if I've got a fraction, I've got to multiply everything by what the denominator is.
Okay.
I can never, ever, ever, ever have a fraction. That's like danger, Will Robbins, danger.
And so when you cancel it, you multiply by a negative on one side and a positive on the other side?
Well, over here, when I canceled it, so I had -3 and I multiplied it through to each of these, and then I multiplied this by -3. This was -2 times -3 equals 6. Okay? Okay? Let's do our last problem. So for this one, for slope-intercept form, the first thing I'm going to find is I'm going to use my slope formula, and I'm going to find slope. Okay? So my slope is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? So I'm just going to take my first 2 points because they're easiest. Okay? -18 minus 8. Okay? Over 3 minus 1. Okay? So what do I get there? So minus -8 becomes plus +8. So I get -10 over 2, which gives me -5. Right?
Right.
That's my slope. So I do y equals -5x plus b.
Wait, how did you get -10 over 2? Because if you have
-18, subtract -8. -18 minus -8, slash and dash. Yeah.
Because if you couldn't you do like, because it'd be y2 minus y1, so y2 would be 8, -8, and then then minus, because then you do plus 18, change.
Here, let's plug into a calculator.
Are you, did you do the?
Okay?
Yeah.
I do negative 18,
But why would you start with 18?
because it's my second point. Okay? Let's start with my second point, and then I'm going to subtract, which for the record, then you would have ended up getting the same thing, because if I had done it the other way, I would have had 8 minus negative 18, which would have given me 1 minus 3 on the bottom, which then would have been negative 2 on the bottom and a positive 10 on top.
I know what I did wrong. I just
Okay.
figured out that.
But to plug it in, just for the record, gives you negative 10. Okay? All right. Almost done. I'm going to plug in. I'm going to plug in this set of points. So I'm going to have negative 8 equals negative 5 plus b. Okay? Because I'm going to plug in my 1 here and my negative 8. Okay? Which means I have negative 8 equals negative 5 plus b plus 5 plus 5. B equals,
Wouldn't you put your X in there too?
why would I put an X in it too?
It's 5X plus B and 1.
Because my point is 1 and negative 8.
And then I was doing
Okay? So in which case, I'm going to have minus 5 from both sides, and I'm going to have B equals negative 3. Right? So my equation is going to be Y equals negative 5x minus 3. And I'm done. Okay?